All right, let's dive into one of the biggest, most profound ideas in Buddhism. Why do we suffer? And we're going to explore this through a really powerful metaphor that's actually built right into the teaching itself. The metaphor of a fire. You know that feeling, right? That kind of low-grade, constant burn of dissatisfaction? That sense that something just isn't quite right? Well, Buddhist thought looks at this feeling as a kind of inner fire that we're constantly, and often without even realizing it, feeding. So, why? Why do we have this nagging feeling of unease? What in Nepali language is called dukkha. Why does it feel like we're stuck in this endless loop of wanting something, getting it, and then almost immediately wanting something else? It's a question that gets right to the heart of being human.
The Buddha had this incredibly vivid way of describing our situation. He said we're entangled like a matted ball of thread. I mean, you can just picture it, can't you? It's that feeling of being completely trapped, stuck in a cycle you just can't seem to break. The goal here is to figure out how we got so tangled up in the first place. And the Buddha's diagnosis for this was pretty radical for its time. He said, this suffering, this inner fire, it's not just random bad luck. It's not some kind of divine punishment. No, it's a process. And it operates according to a very specific, understandable law of cause and effect. And if you can understand the cause, well then, you can change the outcome.
Now, here's something that's really crucial to get. There is no single starting point. Buddhist thought isn't interested in finding some first cause for everything. Asking what started it all is seen as the wrong question. It doesn't actually help us get free. Instead, the whole focus is on understanding the conditions that keep the process going right here, right now. And this core principle is called dependent origination, or Paṭicca-samuppāda. It's the central teaching that explains this whole process. And what it means is actually pretty simple. Nothing exists all by itself. Everything comes into being because of other factors. It's a universal law of conditionality. The basic logic behind it is captured in this beautifully simple formula. When this is, that comes to be. And of course, the reverse is also true. When this isn't, that doesn't come to be. This simple idea right here is the key to unraveling that whole tangled mess. Okay, so if our suffering is a fire, what ignites it? What's the spark that gets the whole thing started? According to this teaching, that initial spark is something called craving. In Pali, the word for this is tanha.
Now, tanha isn't just, wanting something. The word literally translates as thirst. And it's meant to feel like that, a deep, burning, unquenchable thirst. It could be a thirst for pleasant things, sights, sounds, tastes, or it could be a thirst to exist, to be somebody important. It can even be a thirst for it all to just stop, a thirst for non-existence. This is the spark.
But think about it. A spark on its own can't keep a fire going for long, right? It just fizzles out. It needs fuel. And in our metaphor, the fuel for the fire of suffering is something called clinging, or upadana, and it builds directly on that initial spark of craving. So what's the difference? Well, the ancient scholar Buddha-Gosa used this fantastic metaphor. He said craving is like a thief stretching his hand out in the dark, wanting something. Clinging is the moment the thief's hand actually grasps the object. It's the shift from desire to possession, from I want that to this is mine. And here, right here, is the absolute heart of our fire metaphor. It is so brilliant. The word upadana has this amazing double meaning. Yes, it means clinging, grasping, but its literal meaning is fuel. And that is not a coincidence. Our clinging to our ideas, our stuff, our very sense of who we are is the literal fuel that we keep throwing onto the fire of our own suffering. So, when you combine the spark of craving with the fuel of clinging, what do you get? Well, you get a self-sustaining fire. In Buddhist terms, you get the ongoing process of becoming. Becoming, or bhava, is this process where our mind literally creates a sense of me inside of a little world that's built entirely around a desire. And this isn't just some abstract idea about rebirth between lifetimes. No, this is happening constantly, moment to moment, right inside our own heads. Let's make this real with a simple example. So it all starts with that little spark of craving, a simple thought that just pops up. The thirst arises. Man, I want some ice cream. Seems totally innocent, right? But the process has already kicked off. Instantly, a world just materializes around that one desire. Your awareness filters out everything else. Suddenly, the only things that seem to matter in this ice cream world are the kitchen, the store, the money in your wallet, or maybe the traffic that's standing in your way. And to operate in this new world, a temporary self is born. There's the agent self, whose entire job is to get the ice cream. Then there's the consumer self, who's already anticipating how good it's going to taste. And you've definitely got the commentator self, who's going to judge if it was worth it. This entire drama, this whole becoming, was created from just one little spark of craving.
So if suffering is a fire, and we've just seen how the spark and the fuel work, the big question is, can we put it out? And the answer is a resounding yes. Because it's a process with causes, it is a process that can be stopped.
The strategy here isn't to try and fight the fire head-on. It's much simpler. You just stop giving it fuel. If we can learn to see our clinging for what it is, just more logs we keep throwing on the fire, we can learn to just put them down. We can interrupt the whole cycle. And this brings us to the ultimate goal, nibbana, or nirvana. Now, the word itself doesn't mean some kind of heavenly paradise. It literally means to blow out or to be extinguished. It is the cooling of the fire. It's the end of the thirst and the clinging that caused all that burning in the first place. So that really leaves us with a pretty powerful question to reflect on. If our attachments, our clinging, our upadana, if that's the very fuel for our own dissatisfaction, what fires are we, right now, in this moment, choosing to feed in our own lives?